Regular City Council meeting Monday, January 22nd to order. Clerk call roll, please. Alderman Putoff. Here. Ferrari. Here. Waldorf. Here. Lukosius. Radke. Here. Sapienza. Here. Payton. Ballard. Here. Mayor Hall. Here. Pledge of allegiance. Okay, Friends for Peru Pool. Do we have the friend, Claudia?
I am Claudia McKiska, and this is Gina Martin, and we are here representing Friends for Peru Pool. As most of you know, we took part in Bergner's Community Day event this past November. That was the 9th time our organization participated in the Bergner's fundraiser. We want to give special thanks to Alderman Dave Waldorf and to former member Sherry Mazak for selling booklets for us. Also, we thank each of you who supported us by buying books from us. Your help makes a significant difference in the success of this project. We also thank Bergner's for the opportunity to participate in their event. This evening, we are able to add $1,035.86 to the fund for Peru's future pool. That makes the total that has been raised during the 9 Bergner's fundraisers come up to $11,276.01.
Thank you. Gina, did you have a few words you wanted to say?
Yes. I'm Gina Martin, and I have been with the special
Gina, can you speak at the podium to the microphone? That way it'll be hopefully better recorded. Thank you.
I'm Gina Martin. I have been with Special Olympics for the 35 plus years. This year we are going to have another polar plunge at Lake Mendota on February 24th at 12 p.m. And I have asked Dave if we could put up a couple of posters advertising this event. This will support our Special Olympians in this area. Thank you.
Thanks, Gina. Okay, we'll show a little bit from our China trip, which was in November of 2017. Did Bob come in? I don't see him. Oh, there we are, right there. Okay. And at the computer who put this slide presentation together, Lisa Haas, that works at Karis. And thank you, Lisa. She worked very hard on it. So this was the facility where we were at in November for the business meeting at the. You can see it right behind me, the Linguimano. That's a region, like LaSalle County would be a region, a county in Illinois. That's a region. So the Linguimano office building. Should you go to the next one? Okay, the picture on the left is at the office building of Peter Limburger's in Beijing. We were early in the morning on Saturday the 18th. Where our final meeting for our strategy meeting to go over everything that we were going to be talking about and move on from there. So then the picture on the right is the group that came from the U.S. on this trip from Illinois and then from the Starved Rock Alliance region. That's what we were there under the Starved Rock Alliance region, which it includes Peru, LaSalle, Oglesby, Streeter, and all the towns in between. Represented there was Peru, LaSalle, Oglesby, Streeter. State Representative Long was there, and then some of the other people you see were people from the Peter Limburger company. So we go next. So this was the room that we were in the crowd. It's kind of difficult to see because of the pillars in this room. They had chairs up for 100 and some people. They didn't have enough room. They added more chairs, and we had a pretty nice crowd. And then we have a delivery by Representative Jerry Long on his portion of the presentation for the state of Illinois specific. And then this is part of the presentation that we showed the Chinese, and this is already foreign investment in the U.S. and in our region. All the companies that you see, which are companies that you know, you've seen in the paper, you've seen it, you know about it, and these are companies that is foreign investment. We have another slide with more foreign investment, and there's just quite a bit. So this was to warm the people that were there up to what we were there for, to tell them about our area, the Starved Rock Alliance area. That's the map of the Starved Rock Alliance. That's what it covers. That's what we were there to pitch. And as you'll see later, a little later in the presentation, we have the highway system that runs from the East Coast to the West Coast. We have the highway system that runs from Winnipeg, Canada to the Gulf of Mexico. And we have the rail system, which we'll see that connects us to all parts of the United States, the air travel and whatnot. So if we'll go to the next one. Okay, then we showed them our area. The Chinese, they're very interested in seeing the landscape, seeing the beauty, because in Beijing there's roughly, give or take a few million, 25 million people there, and if they get out of town, they can see some very beautiful scenery in that area, but I don't know how often they do get out of town. It's a very big town. So anyway, the very diverse economy goes in there. The foreign investment, international companies in the Starved Rock region. Once again, you'll see names there that are very familiar to you. Education is a very big thing with the Chinese. And education, we have our schools. We have Ottawa's Marquette, Illinois Valley Community College. We have LP. We have, what's the one in the middle? So anyway, this is trivial here. You didn't know you were going to come in and be asked questions. So anyway, they're very interested in the schools and how you educate your people. For instance, right at our own St. Bede Academy, just a couple miles down the road, there's 30-plus Chinese students there at this time. The University of Illinois has roughly 5,000 students at the University of Illinois, which is the largest contingency of Chinese students of any university in the United States. Healthcare, naturally, they're very interested in healthcare, so you need to show them our healthcare facilities. So we have Ottawa, Streator, Peru, and once again, they're interested in seeing your healthcare, what you have. They're extremely interested in what do you do with your elderly. How do you take care when they grow old? What do you do? So we have some of our facilities that we have in our area just to show that we take care of our elderly. We do it the right way, and there is facilities there available for them. One thing that's not a slide here, they're also very interested in funeral homes. What do you do when someone passes on? They're very interested in that, and you wouldn't think so. We weren't prepared. We didn't have a slide for it because we didn't know that they were going to be asking about a funeral home, but they're very interested in that. So our industrial sites and parks. This was Streator, just to show some of the land that's available, that's set aside for their industrial park. And then LaSalle, as it shows there, their I-39 and 80 site corridor. Ottawa, their site, their roads and railroads. And then it came time for our presentation, and we only showed the highlight of what Ottawa and Streator did. We'll show you a little bit more that's Peru specific. So we talked for a while on this 518 acres that we have either annexed into the city of Peru or that is available to be purchased near the city of Peru and could be annexed into the city of Peru, along with some of the other companies that are already here that are depicted in the green drop-downs. The transportation, as I mentioned before, Our, our air access, how we're accessible, within a 4-hour flight of all major North American destinations. We have 142 nonstop and direct domestic routes. Our interstate highway system, which connects our East Coast to our West Coast and our Canada to the Gulf of Mexico. Our waterways. When you look at the rest of the map and you look at our waterways, we're in a pretty good position here. Rail yards, and as you see there, we were pushing pretty much that. As far as the congestion, we don't have the congestion that we have in Chicago at this time. Historic downtowns. Downtown Peru, Streeter, Kaskaskia Hotel. The presenting cities. Okay, Mayor Jimmy Lansford was unable to be there, but the city manager Scott Wrighton was there from the city of Streeter. Sherman High School. City of Ottawa, Mayor Robert Eschbach was there, and the Dave Noble, who's the Director of Community Development, plus their city engineer, downtown Ottawa. Mayor Jeff Grove from LaSalle was not there, but Bart Hartower, the President of LaSalle Business Association, was there. Downtown District. Just pictures showing them our area. And then in the Peru, there'll be a slide a little later that shows a presentation table such as this, where we had out, what was it, Bob? 200 pieces of literature. And of the 200 pieces of literature, Peru's was all gone. Some of the other ones weren't, but I do have to say Peru's was completely used up. It was all gone. So we're just showing the other side. We had everything translated so they could see it. And the 5th best city in Illinois in our language, in theirs. Our city hall. And once again, our schools. And I have to say, I'm repeating myself, but they're very interested in your schools and how do you educate your people. St. Pete Academy, because of the population that we have there, the Chinese population. The hospitals, some of the amenities. Pictures just to make them acquainted with life around here. Very interested in the airport, its accessibility and its convenience. They're very interested in rail. That's something very key to the Chinese. They're extremely interested in rail. And that says for itself, you can ship to, what was it, 2/3 of the country in 2 days or less. So our industrial area, translated for them. More translation of our area. It's not easy giving a presentation to 100 or more Chinese people. You stood and you talked, but you had an interpreter alongside of you, and you could talk. You didn't know where to break. You didn't know where to stop. You just don't know, because you can't speak the language whatsoever at all. So it was very difficult. What was probably a 90-minute to 2-hour presentation was well into 4 hours plus. It was a long time. I will say we did lose a couple of the crowd, but not many. Most of them stayed. This is their transportation. That's the boat. We were invited to a factory where they make fine china dishes, and they did present one to the city of Peru, which is on the table here. They make them, and that was in Changshan, which is 180 miles from Beijing, and the bullet train is I don't know if the picture's in here, but there was a photo that had, the bullet train was running 333 kilometers per hour, 180 miles an hour, so we had the 180-mile trip, and we were there in an hour. Very interesting. The China factory, they do paint things by hand. You know, there's proof of it right there. We watched that, and there's a pile of them in front of them. The one on the left, we won't punch on that, but we'll try and make it available. We did make the national news for our visit to the China factory. It's kind of difficult when you say China factory when you're in China, but the Chinese dish factory. And there's literature that we had that, once again, it all ended up, it was gone. So is that a good thing? Hopefully. You don't know. Meeting, group pictures of the people. It was quite interesting. People were very interested. And they stayed. Once again, that was a 4-hour plus presentation, and they stayed. They were there. Quite a few questions, which takes time. You have to go through your interpreter and questions and answer. The female person that is standing with Bob in the bottom two pictures, what we found out to be the person that, another slide down the road here, we'll show it right here. She was the clerical, the administrative assistant, what have you, for the Army Department of Food and Security at Beijing Chinese Language and Cultural. The top left-hand picture is the security checkpoint to go into the complex where Mr. Liu was, and one of the stereotypes that I'm sure everybody thinks of is the Chinese people. They're all little short people, as you'll see here. He wasn't a little short guy. He was a pretty tall guy. And then it's Yang Lu. Yang Lu is the shorter guy on the top picture. The top picture and the picture to the right, who was Yao Yao. It's a difficult language, and we didn't master it in 5 days. So they had many questions about their growing their food. They had many questions about what is the University of Illinois doing. They know that the University of Illinois is on the forefront for agriculture, and they were very interested in the University of Illinois. We offered them that we would be able to bring them into Illinois, and they could have a meeting at the University of Illinois. One thing that they're doing in China right now is they're learning how to grow grain in the Gobi Desert, which the Gobi Desert, you wouldn't think that could happen. But it just so happens when I was on the plane on the trip back, there was the guy next to me that was in the chemical industry, and I was talking to him about it, and he says, oh yeah, he said, I was just there, I saw it firsthand. He said they're growing grass out in the desert, and he said, and there was remnants of the grain that they were growing, the desert, which is amazing. And interest, okay. What did this trip do? Well, number one, what we found here in the past years is there's no substitute for meeting someone face to face, a handshake, looking at them eye to eye, and forming a relationship. Does it happen immediately? What happens immediately? The project Northern Partners over on the west side of town, that was a 5-year from cradle to grave, meaning the inception of it to when it was built. What are the projects we've been out there that are 2 or 3 years out? Anyway, it just doesn't happen that fast. But once again, you need to meet the people. You need to try and develop a relationship. Was there interest? There was interest. Did we come home with paperwork on a contract or a letter of intent? No, we didn't. Will it come in the future? Maybe there'll be ribbon cuts in the future. I don't know. But you can't do it if you don't even try. It'll never be there if you don't try. So the interest back a couple slides ago was Streeter does have interest. The Sherman School was purchased by the Chinese, and what they're going to do with this old Sherman School is, well, I shouldn't say old, the former school, which was the Sherman School, is they will be bringing Chinese over from their country, and they will be teaching English and English etiquette, and then they will take them back to China, and they will teach their students the English and the English etiquette, and then their plan is for those students to come over here and start to expand on the role. This is the area for a rail bridge logistics park in Streeter, because Streeter is promoting that they don't have the congestion that you have in Chicago, and they're also accessible to the East Coast, the West Coast, which you saw previously on some of the rail maps, and they're also very accessible to Texas, because quite a bit of product ships to Texas from here. So Scott Wrighton is doing a very good job. He's the chairman of the Starved Rock Alliance. He's doing a very good job in keeping things rolling. This is the last slide. Okay. Any questions on some of the slides? I know that's quite a bit. It goes by quick, but is there anybody any questions with anything that maybe I can answer? Yes.
Mr. Vickery, maybe you can acquaint to the crowd of the thirst the Chinese have for investment into the United States. And I mean, that was one of the main reasons you were over there, is particular their interest in investing in the United States, and basically update us on why.
Well, one of the things that they spoke to us about was...
Hey, Bob, I apologize, but the camera kind of goes this way. So
You want to come here, Bob?
come to the podium or grab the mic and stand over here. Either way.
One of the things they talked to us about was the growing of food. They said to us, we have 1.3 billion people in China. By 2020, in 7 years, by 2024, we're going to have 1.5 billion people living in China, and we need to know how we're going to feed them. That's one of the reasons they wanted to come to the Midwest, and they are going to be here in February, and we're going to talk to them again. I think they want to learn how to grow food. They might learn how to grow food from us. We have some ideas about giving them tours of ADM, giving them a tour of Del Monte and Mendota, the farm family of the year that lives just south of Mendota, and we think we can talk to them. So we'll get some visits, but the main focus, Dave, was on food and agriculture.
Anybody else? Any questions? Mike?
Yeah, was there any discussion about possible raw materials in our area that could be utilized in any type of investment? And specifically with that, I'm thinking about food sourcing, Asian carp as a possible commodity. I know in some areas that's actually dehydrated and used as a protein supplement in a lot of diets.
That would have been a conversation we could have had with Yao Lu. We were in talking with him for what, hour and a half, something like that, and there were so many questions. And once again, with the language barrier, it's difficult to answer your question. No, that didn't come up. It's a good idea, no doubt about it, but it didn't come up.
I think when they come back in February, that'll be something on our agenda. That's a good thought. Thank you.
Yeah, we have there are what, a half a dozen, 6 or so that are coming to Illinois. It's in February or late January. It's soon. They're coming to Illinois. So you caught their eye, caught their attention, and they're not going to send the whole 100 people that were over. There would be a contingency like we had, 12 people, 15, whatever the number was. So, anybody else? Yes.
This climate, you were talking about growing food in the desert. Did they indicate how they were doing it?
No, they didn't indicate. No, they didn't indicate how. They were basically throwing an answer out and picking your brain with a question at the same time. And they were very interested in knowing what we're doing. As I said previously, they were very interested in knowing what we're doing, and we don't know. but at the University of Illinois. What are they doing there? So apparently they're on the map for what they are doing at the University of Illinois, and they were very interested in the university.
What was the climate like? Is it comparable to ours?
Their climate, pretty much the same. Pretty much the same. That was mid-November. You hit a couple days where it was fairly warm, and you hit a couple days where it was chilly, and it's pretty much the same. Yeah. Anybody else? Well, as I said before, hopefully it'll bear fruit at some point in time, but you never know unless you do it. You never know unless you're there. You know, Bob is putting out feelers for the retail part of our city nonstop, and you don't get them all, but you do. We're doing pretty good in Peru. There's no doubt about that. So if there's nothing further, we'll go ahead and proceed with our business meeting. And Lisa, thank you very much. We've been at Lisa over at Karis Chemicals. Bob and I have been in there to see you 2, 3, probably 4 times, because there was many slides to go through, and we didn't want this to be a 2-hour process, but there were many slides, and we hit the high points. So thank you. Okay, we have a motion to receive the regular meeting minutes and place on file.
So moved, Your Honor.
Do I have a second?
Second, Your Honor.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried. Do I have a motion to receive the financial reports and place on file?
So moved, Your Honor.
Second, Your Honor.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
Yes, Your Honor, I wanted to point out the sales tax report for October. Sales tax in October generated was $19,609 higher than it was last year at the same. So that's very positive. Year to date, we're about $16,000 difference from last year's pretty much record year. So we're right on. The big 2 months are coming up, November and December. We'll be curious if that retail does come in again higher than previous.
Anything else? All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried. Do we have a motion to receive the activity reports in place on file?
So moved, Your Honor.
Have a motion and a second to receive activity and place on file. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried. Okay, that puts us at committee reports. We have Finance Safety Services, Chairman Putoff.
Alderman Radke will handle disbursements tonight.
Yes, Your Honor. Total disbursements for January 24 of 2018 is $1,337,709.23. I move that this report be received, placed on file, and the bills paid in the usual manner.
I'll second that, Your Honor.
I have a motion and a second to receive the disbursements, place on file, and pay the bills in the usual manner. Is there any discussion? Have a roll call, quick call roll.
Alderman Putoff.
Aye.
Ferrari.
Aye.
Waldorf.
Aye.
Lukosius.
Aye.
Radke.
Aye.
Sapienza.
Aye.
Payton.
Aye.
Ballard.
Aye.
Motion approved.
Tonight, Your Honor, we have a motion to execute a 1-year agreement with Buxton in the amount of $50,000. This is an agreement to give analytical information that is very important for retailers to pick up. For example, Peru is a city of about 10,000 people. So what we're trying to prove to other major retailers coming in, we're not a city of 10,000 people, we're a city of 50,000 people shopping. So that makes a big difference when you're looking from a retailer to establish in the city of Peru. Buxton has that analytical information that can provide those retailers what they need to expand our retail base. A lot of times talking to Mr. Vickery, talking to Mr. Miller, and talking to Mayor Hartle, developers will come in and say, we're interested in your area, how big of a population are you? We're 10,000 people, but yet we have a shopping base of probably over 50,000 people. And if you look at our sales tax, that's very evident there. But you're looking for exact analytical information, where people are coming from, where people are spending their money, which stores, what things they are buying. Buxton has the ability through Visa to work with that to locate each and every person, where they're coming from, what they're buying, and why Peru is an important retail aspect. So that's one of the areas that we want to try to prove. The second is when we're matching up retailers face-to-face with the city of Peru, that information from Buxton can give us that face-to-face meeting where they can provide, here, this retailer 1, retailer 2, retailer 3, looks like they could provide a pretty good match for your area. We have that information to give them. We have that information to match them up, or basically get that face-to-face that we need. So it is a lot of money, $50,000 for the first year, but we think it's important for our retail base. We're looking probably at spending, I think last year we spent maybe $120,000, $130,000 as far as economic development, and we're looking at spending about the same this year, probably about $140,000. But we feel it's very important for our retail tax base. And remember, if you're a resident in Peru, that retail tax base is everything. It provides that your property tax rates are low. It provides for all the services in the city, so it's very important from that standpoint. I think the China trip was fantastic. It's a manufacturing. When you're looking at manufacturing, you look at the area-wide. It was certainly important for the city of Peru to be involved in area-wide manufacturing, because it doesn't matter if that manufacturing base locates in LaSalle, Oglesby, wherever it is, we all benefit from that. We benefit from the jobs. But from a retail standpoint, we're trying to be specific. We're trying to do the best we can as far as retail. And there's a lot of competition out there. You got competition from Amazon. And I think what we needed to be was a little more sophisticated and a little more aggressive. And we think that this agreement with Buxton will match up. So that is a motion tonight on the floor.
I will second that motion.
I have a motion and a second to execute a one-year agreement with Buxton in the amount of $50,000. Is there any further discussion?
I just like, Mr. Vickery, you've worked on the retail floor quite a bit, going to Las Vegas and various other things, and of course Buxton is a big player. Tell us how that relationship helps you do your job better, or how it helps the city of Peru.
Yeah, at the mic, thank you.
Remember that we had Buxton in here maybe a year ago, and they did a PowerPoint presentation for all of us. And in fact, Lisa McKay, who did that presentation, was going to be here tonight. Her sister was involved in an automobile accident yesterday morning, and she went into surgery this morning, so she had to cancel out her trip. But to address your question, Buxton puts together a lot of analytical information. Now, I gave everybody a sheet here, and I'll just, for the public that's here, I'll just make some highlights. There's a thing called a cannibalization analysis for retail in close proximity. So what stores aren't in Peru that people are traveling to? They can figure that out. They have a retail match list, so they try to fit the city of Peru to a retailer that isn't here. They have pursuit packages for specific retailers that we can go and we can identify through their analytics what shoppers want in Peru. Where are shoppers going? Let's take Old Navy. I get a lot of questions on Old Navy. They can tell us how many people from this area, from this 50,000 population area that we're talking about, how many are going to Old Navy. Then we can meet with Old Navy and show them that information. Same way with, I get questions about Ross Dress. So those are two that are going to be on our hit list for sure. They do a retail leakage analysis. That's leakage is what's leaving the area and how can we stop it. There's just all kinds of things that they can do, but one of the most important is they maintain a very large booth at the ICSC meetings that are in May, and we can use that booth. We can be in that booth. They will help us put together appointments between the city of Peru and a retailer that we've identified, which we're going to start right away. The month of February is going to be very busy in getting them all kinds of information that they need to plug into their computer systems to start their analytics, and we can use that information to cross-reference City of Peru with retailers and we can use, this conference is huge, 2 million square feet, 35,000 attendees, 16 to 1,800 exhibitors in 3 buildings. So it's not something to just walk into the fairgrounds. I mean, this is huge, and this is the premier event, and they are one of the premier booth takers for that show. And so you're with Buxton, and Buxton's with you. It's very important. They will come up here and do a report to the council. So we invest in a lot of economic development, but sometimes we never see anybody after we send the check. They'll come back up here and do a report to the council. So those are some of the things that they provide in their services, and that's why I've been an advocate of Buxton for some time. And in fact, I went down to their offices in Fort Worth, actually, at no cost to the city. I went down there because I heard the presentation and I liked it, but I wanted to see it for myself, and it's very impressive. Questions?
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? And then we'll have a roll call. Quick call roll.
Alderman Putoff. Aye. Ferrari. Aye. Waldorf. Aye. Lukosius. Radke. Aye. Sapienza. Payton. Aye. Ballard. Aye.
Motion approved.
Another item that the Finance Committee is working on is our scavenger contract. That comes due in April, and details will be released a little bit towards next week. But as we're all aware, cost has risen from the garbage or scavenger contracts. We've had the same prices over the course of many years. Our goal, again, is to keep the rates down as small as possible and get the best service we can. The council is going to ensure that the city get, again, group prices as opposed to private pickup. And we're also pretty much in agreement of looking at universal containers, meaning a large container for each resident for both garbage and a separate container for recycling. We think that's the way to go, just from causing of all the things flying around the neighborhood. The city will look a lot better. We're also convinced to maintain the large item pickup, and again, we're trying to do this at the best rates as possible, and we hope to have a little more information at the next council meeting to be approved.
Your Honor, I'd like to make a motion to approve a $1,000 donation to Illinois Valley Rotters Car Club. What this $1,000 goes for is every year they have a car show in conjunction with a CSO picnic, and it's to buy the trophies and help put it on. And the money from the CSO, as you notice, we have a lot of new Christmas decorations down here this year, and that's what the money goes for.
I'll second that.
Have a motion and a second to approve $1,000 donation to Illinois Valley Rotters Car Club. Is there any discussion?
I think it's one of the larger events that we have in our parks every year, so I think it makes sense for the city to support this.
Any further discussion? Have a roll call. Quick call roll.
Alderman Putoff.
Aye.
Ferrari.
Aye.
Waldorf. Aye. Lukosius. Radke. Aye. Sapienza. Aye. Payton. Aye. Ballard. Aye.
Motion approved.
Any other update from Finance or Safety Services members? Thank you.
Nothing further? Okay, we'll move on to Public Service. Chairman Waldorf.
Thank you, Your Honor. Alderman Lukosius, would you enlighten us on the electric department, please?
Yes, first thing on the agenda tonight is to discuss the electric department's service vehicle options. And we have Kai Kaczynski with us tonight from the electric department, and he's going to tell us about one of our trucks that we're having a problem with and the situation we're in. Kai?
You hear me okay? Okay, so this truck was purchased or bought in 2010, and we received the truck in 2011, right before 2012. So to go from there, the first 5 months the truck received a new transmission. The motor ended up being a flop, which we really didn't find out until a little while ago. As far as we know, the first transmission that went in the first 5 months of the truck was under warranty, and the first engine repair was under warranty too. The engine, if you guys can, all the pamphlets that I handed you guys out, if you want to do a little reading on this engine, they do not make this engine anymore. it's discontinued, totally off of the market. So International was using a Cummins engine before this, and I think a few of you guys can attest to this, but now they did make this motor for a while. They tried to get away with some emission problems with the motor, and it just didn't work for them. So the motor went downhill fast, and they just discontinued the whole motor. So it's a Navistar Max Force engine is what it is. In my 30 years here with the city of Peru, never in my life have I seen a truck in the shop so much as this truck. It's just all kinds of problems, all kinds of issues with oil or fuel getting into the oil system and screwing up the pressures. Right now, that's where we're sitting. The truck is sitting at the mechanics right now, and if you go through here, there's an invoice right now for a little over $1,000, which we owe, and behind that are some statements from the mechanics. So I'll let you guys read those and go over that. So I also have a quote to put the truck back on the road, and it's well, it says quote, it's like 8,800. Oh, I got them here. Jeff, thank you. I forgot. Excuse me. To put the truck back on the road, and behind that, like I say, is the mechanics issues with the motor. Again, both of us see no sense in putting money back into this truck. It is just, it's a waste of time and money. So to put the truck back on the road, it would be $8,800.
This itemized list you gave us here with a total of $50,113, that's out-of-pocket money since 2012 that we've spent on this truck?
Yes, sir. So every time we turn around, probably I want to say every a couple of years, every 3 years or so, the truck goes down. And I mean, I just had this truck worked on not 3 months ago and totally rebuilt. And you can see it in these bills. We probably spent over $11,000 repairing it. So now it's down again. Same issues, same oil cooler issues. The blow-by is really bad on it right now. There's over 16,000 hours of engine runtime on this truck. This truck is our main runner truck. It's what we use to change light bulbs every day, day in, day out. It's running 8 hours a day. It's on every call out that we go out on. So the truck it's run a lot. So mechanics are saying over 16,000 hours, the motor's junk in first place. Even a regular motor in a regular truck with 16,000 hours on it. Everyone thinks you might go by mileage, but it's not on a diesel engine when they're sitting there running. 16,000 hours is a lot of hours. So I've had 3 top mechanics in the area tell me that this motor was junk from day one. There's no replacing this engine. It was made specifically for that truck, Durastar International, or I'm sorry, it's the I got it written down. It's a Max Force 5.4 liter. So there's no replacing this engine with another motor. So I've had the mechanic out looking, trying to find another block that we could use to see if that would be a fixable issue to redo this engine. But from what he's telling me is it's not going to happen. The same issues are going to come up time and time again. You got major blow-by is coming on the engine right now, which is air coming around the pistons and creating pressures that are not supposed to be there. So it's creating a bigger pressure inside the engine. There's all kinds of things that are going on inside there. I'm no mechanic, so I'm a lineman, I'm an electrician, brought up that way, but I'm no diesel mechanic. I'm just trying to give you what they told me.
I do know that you've been researching this for the past week or so.
Yeah.
What do you feel are our options right now to get? Obviously, this truck is an integral part of the daily electric department duty.
Right.
So,
moving on.
What do we have?
What's that?
What do we have for options?
Right now, I got a hold of an L-Tech dealer today, and they do have a truck that is a demo truck. And let me give these to you guys. truck looks considerably smaller than what we had, although it will reach just as high from what we had before. It's comparable to what we had and a little bit more. So what Clay Graves is saying, I guess, is he's going to give us this truck for 6 weeks to use as a demo. And he should have it here next week, so I'll be fixed up for a little while anyhow, and then we can see how we like the truck instead of, jumping into a fire not knowing what we're doing. So at least we have a little time to where we're not going to, if we want to rent a truck, it could be up to $2,600 per 30 days if you're renting a truck, and it's not cheap, but once you think about what the truck's doing, it's fairly cheap. I've talked to some people, that are in the business of doing that, but I feel it's the best thing to do is get this demo, see if we like it. I mean, it's a smaller line truck. It's not as heavy as the truck that we have now. I don't know if you remember the old bucket truck that we had. It was smaller, compact, more of a pickup truck, kind of like that. I believe that's what is that, a 5000 on that picture that's there, that Dodge. It's 5000 series somewhere in there, but I mean it's a decent truck, and I mean this is the only guy that's come forward with anything that I could find. I went through 6 other dealers trying to find a truck, rental shops trying to find a truck that we could, lease, and I'm finding nothing. So hopefully next week this truck will be here and we'll have it for 6 weeks. In the meantime, we can decide what we want to do.
Okay.
But I do not want to sit and wait on it. If we do have a chance that we could buy a truck just like that right now. They do have a few of them. It would be a lot cheaper than the truck we were looking at, but it wouldn't. But I mean, it's a Dodge, so we have a Dodge dealer in town. So that's the thing with all that. We want to try to get a truck that's made locally here that they will work on.
Is it a diesel engine or also?
Yes, sir. It's a diesel.
And for a new truck where you're to be manufactured, you're looking at up to a year, right?
Right. A year to get it.
Well, obviously we have to do something soon, so.
Right.
All right. Well, keep us posted when you get this.
Okay.
This
And if
demo truck
you guys have any questions at all, the mechanic's number's on a lot of these pages. Just feel free to give him a call, and he can explain it to you a lot better than I can. Like I said, I'm a lineman. I'm not a diesel mechanic, so thank you for your time. If you have any other questions.
Do we have any, what do we do with the
That's the problem. There's no really market for it because everybody knows that motor is junk. So the boom that's on there, yeah, it's worth money. I looked into this a year ago. This truck I put into the budget for this year to get rid of, but now it went early on me, so there's nothing we can do. So I guess we can just look on a market and see if we can get rid of it. It can be fixed to drive down the road if somebody wants to put money in it, but the issue is going to come back and it's going to happen again. It could be, like the mechanic said, it could be 5 years, it could be 5 minutes once we fix the engine, and do you want to sit there and put $30,000 in an engine and have it go bad again? We've proven it 3 times now. This is the 2nd time. If we redo it again, it'll be the 3rd time. So I don't think we want to spend that kind of money.
Okay, thanks, Kai.
Okay, thank you.
Well, we'll take this under advisement with the Public Services Committee, but it's good that all the entire City Council got to hear this, so you'll know our dilemma when we bring it to you.
Next, Your Honor, I'd like to make a motion to approve Area 3, Phase 3 bid in the amount of $577,466.67 to the lowest bidder, Ski Seal Coat and Maintenance Incorporated. Eric, do you want to fill us in, please?
Sure. This is our annual sewer separation project that's mandated through the IEPA. As I had updated everybody in a previous meeting, it's an area south of Route 6 near Pizza House, Grant Street, portion of 2nd Street, and a portion of 3rd Street heading towards west. So it's a smaller area of our sewer separations. We had an engineer's estimate on the project of about $700,000. So as you can see, bids, our goal is to get them out early because contractors are hopefully hungry for work in the new season coming. We had 8 bidders, extremely competitive bids, and as you see, the low bid at $577 and $466.67. If you're looking at the bid tabulation sheet, there was actually an error in calculating that bid. So the bid tabulation sheet shows it $500 more. The detailed sheet shows where that error was, so it's been corrected.
Eric, I know we just got this today, and you explained a little bit to me, but looking at it, and again, assurances, and if you can explain a little bit of this, but I see on the contractors, they've got, something like 1 cent for a unit price, trench backfill $8.41, when another contractor has it for $42,000. Another thing is they've got basically 1 cent bidded for traffic control. Another contractor has it for $20,000. Landscaping repair 1 cent. Other contractor $19,300. How are you going to ensure that all of those items that we listed here are going to get done, and they're not going to, okay, forget it, we don't have anything in the bid,
Sure.
You're on your own? Or
Completely understand the concern. It's always a concern of ours, and if you look at the history of all of our bids on projects, you'll find penny bid items, as we refer to them. The issue that comes, or the solution to that issue, is we provide full construction oversight with the construction administrator. Our construction administrators, as well as myself, are extremely well versed in specifications and requirements and installing materials. So if the contractor feels that item, they can do it at a penny, we're going to ensure that it's complied, that they follow the specifications and how to install that material. In this instance, if trench backfill, for example, wasn't installed properly, it would result in no payment for that item, as well as other items that are associated with the trench backfill. So it would be piping, any pavement above it, curbing, sidewalks. So anything that is supported in that trench backfill item or penny type item that is ancillary to that construction would then be deemed not eligible for payment. So the contractor is running a very large risk when using penny items.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second to award the contract to Ski, the lowest bidder in the Area 3, Phase 3. Is there any further discussion?
Eric, there'll be new water lines put in?
Yeah, so this is past projects. We've been treating sewer separation for the last 4 years as more of a reconstruct project. So previous to that, areas 4 and 6 is where we came in and separated only the sewers. Areas 1 and 3, where we've been concentrating over the last 4 or 5 years, we've identified that we have some aging water main in those areas, some sidewalks that are in need of repair, as well as curb. So we've actually structured these projects such that they're reconstruction. So when we're removing the road surface, we're reconstructing the water mains, reconstructing the sewers, and then, of course, curb, sidewalks, and new pavement. So
Pavement will be
this is asphalt pavement, yes. Yep.
Any further discussion? Okay, we'll have a roll call, real quick overall.
Alderman Putoff. Aye. Ferrari. Aye. Waldorf. Aye. Lukosius. Aye. Radke. Aye. Sapienza. Payton. Aye. Ballard. Aye.
Motion approved.
Next, Your Honor, I'll make a motion to approve the demolition quote in the amount of $96,720 from John Pohar and Sons for 1721 Water Street, 1717 Water Street, and a portion of 1701 Water Street. As you know, this is the old Fridays structure and the Delta Queen, and then there's a garage on the east side of the Red Door property. These buildings have been in disrepair for a long time, and finally the Fridays building collapsed and is threatening the Delta Queen building. There is no cooperation with the owners of this property. It's a dangerous situation, so it falls upon the city to demo these two buildings.
Can we have a motion and a second? Is there any discussion?
Yeah, I'll provide some insight on the demolition, and then I'll defer to Attorney Schweigert to give a quick overview of our hearing that we had last week and the court order that the city received.
Thank you.
On the demo end, we did solicit some local contractors, and being that this is an emergency situation, we're not going through the bidding process and waiting the time to put out bid documents and contracts, so that takes usually 60 days. Given the condition of the buildings, we don't have that time to spare. So we did solicit 3 local reputable demo contractors, one of which who was willing to give us a quote, John Pohar and Sons. The city will have an asbestos consultant on site during demo, just in case we do run into any asbestos issues. And as Chairman Waldorf had mentioned, it is the Fridays building in former Delta Queen that'll be demolished. During demolition, being that the 1701 property, which is the former Red Door, the western portion of that building has a garage and a small apartment area. The 2 structures that we're demoing are about 3 stories, and they are 3 stories in height, and they're failing, so it's going to be a difficult demo. Given that the 1701 property abuts them, there is the potential to damage that garage, so the court order does allow us to remove that garage if need be, if it's damaged during demolition. So, and then I'll turn it over to Attorney Schweigert to kind of give an update or summary of our hearing.
Yeah, just to add to that, it was a tricky situation because the owner of 1701 Water Street and 1717 Water Street wanted to keep the first floor of 1717 and try not to do any demo of 1701, but the engineering reports that we gathered and the demo proposals that we gathered, it was just completely infeasible. That first floor had to go. There was an issue with him having, financial ability to do all that he wanted. The city stepped in, realizing the danger of the situation and the status of the buildings, and we came to an agreement with him as to how we're going to proceed with demolition, and we're going to try to cut off a certain point at 1701 where, just in case, there was some collapse from the demo of 1717 and 1721. If there was damage to 1701, we'll have a retaining wall put up several feet in where that part of the property at 1701 will be demolished with it. But there'll be a spot where they can close it back up and keep the rest of 1701 safe and secured and within the City of Peru Code of Ordinances. So.
And one other thing I'd like to add to that is one other important aspect of that order is it does hold the city and the contractor harmless in the event that 1701 does sustain any damage during demolition.
Right, that was our main concern, was exposing the city to liability if we took down the 2 collapsed buildings and did do some damage to 1701, since it does directly abut it. So that was our main concern, and we came to an agreement with the bank who holds the mortgage on 1701 and the owner. So.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Have a roll call. Clerk call roll, please.
Alderman Putoff.
Aye.
Ferrari.
Aye.
Waldorf.
Aye.
Lukosius.
Aye.
Radke.
Aye.
Sapienza. Payton. Ballard.
Motion approved.
Next, Your Honor, we have a motion before us to execute architectural service agreement for pre-design and space needs assessment for the proposed police station with Basali, Cary, and Alstat, not to exceed the amount of $70,000.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there discussion? A little bit of an explanation, Eric?
Update on the process here. As everybody knows, recently there's been some publication and some media surrounding the potential for a joint police facility. In advance of that formation and those discussions here at the City of Peru, we were looking at potential construction of an existing police facility. I started a process back in the early fall in soliciting through a qualification-based selection an architecture firm to come on board to assist us in developing the plans and specifications and budgets, things of that nature for this project. That process took a few months. We received 16 submittals for the qualification-based selection for this project. Of those 16 submittals, we interviewed 4 architects, 4 architectural firms, all of which came in with a team approach. So given the manner of this project, it's a specialized project and different disciplines that are involved or areas of the project on the architecture end and the MEP end, or the mechanical engineering end. Through that process, we were able to decide on who our best fit candidate was, and extremely fortunate for the city of Peru. I think that we got some great local people who formed a great team. And here tonight is Matt Lamps with BCA, and I'll ask Matt to just come up to the podium for a minute and give a brief overview of the team. And to give you a little bit more insight on the contract is going to run much the same as all of our consulting contracts do in the city of Peru through my office. I manage the contracts. In this instance, this is our pre-development contract, if you will, or space needs assessment. When we do a contract like this, we don't have a number to base it on, so we give our best estimate on a not to exceed on the tasks that we need to accomplish through this process. That contract is managed 100% through my department. I know with the recent formation or discussions with other municipalities, there will be formed a committee. That committee will then conversate with me, and I'll be a direct contact to Matt's group. So Matt's group, their team won't work at any direction other than from me, which I'll be, like I said, conversating closely with the committee. We'll be deciding if and when we need their services through this process. So as I said, the not to exceed amount at $70,000, but we may not need to use that amount of money to accomplish what we need to in the pre-design phase. And in that phase, we'll be doing some interviews with the chiefs, potentially interviews with staff, site visits to other facilities, development of what the project's going to look like or the facility's going to look like, and then development of budgetary numbers to then work with the finance department. So with that, I'm going to turn over to Matt to just give a brief overview of his team. And go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, I'll just give you a brief overview. As said, I'm Matt Lamps from Basali, Carey, and Allstat. Our firm is located in Ottawa. We've worked here with the city before. But we've teamed up on this project here with MWL and Associates. They're out of Chicago. They're a nationally known public safety and training and police stations firm. That's mainly what they do. They work all over the nation designing police stations, training facilities, things of that nature. So in a situation like this, we always team up with somebody of a specialist because it's a specialized facility as it is. So the engineers we've teamed up with is IMEG Corporation. They've done police stations around the nation also, locally also. So that will be the team for the project at this phase. So look forward to working with everybody and appreciate the opportunity.
Thanks, Matt.
Any further discussion? Okay, we'll have a roll call. Clerk call roll.
Alderman Putoff. Aye. Ferrari. Aye. Waldorf. Aye. Lukosius. Aye. Radke. Aye. Sapienza. Aye. Payton. Aye. Ballard. Aye.
Motion approved.
Next, Your Honor, I'd like to make a motion to authorize execution of renewable energy credit management agreement with Blue Delta Energy, LLC. Clerk Bartley, can you enlighten us about Blue Delta?
Well, Blue Delta is a company we've worked with in the past. Actually, it evolved out of a company, Element Markets, that we'd worked with. So what the latest is several years ago when the renewable energy credit market became a big item, legislation dictated that the large utility companies needed to allocate so much of their energy as green energy. So it created a big market for hydroelectric credits that we generate, and even the glut of of wind that came online. At the time, the city was fortunate enough to be able to sell our renewable energy credits that are generated at the hydroelectric facility in upwards of $17 and $18 a credit at that time. As legislation changed and the market changed and more capacity came online for green energy, the values went down, and the utility companies were able to find cheaper sources. So in recent years, we've sold renewable energy credits as we've accumulated them in the 25 cents to 45 cents range. Recently, some new legislation came on the books that may strengthen the market for us. So rather than accumulating renewable energy credits and trying to find a market for them after the fact, we're going to enter into an agreement with Blue Delta to monetize our credits on our behalf. So we're comfortable working with Blue Delta. I've worked with them in the past. They will be making all the arrangements with regard to the letter of credit and bidding into these utility auctions on the city's behalf, and then the city will pay a fee to them for that service. Corporate counsel Doug Schweigert has reviewed the agreement, and we spoke earlier today, and there was only one change to the agreement that he noted, and that was regarding if there was any potential litigation that it would be in a local jurisdiction as opposed to a jurisdiction that they would name. Is that correct? LaSalle County. So we're hoping that the market might be as high as $6 or $7, between $4 and $7 bidding into this market. So it's quite a bit more value for our renewable energy credits than we've been getting. As an example, on a good month, our hydro facility could generate as many as 4,000 renewable energy credits. So obviously the weather patterns make an impact on the generation, the serviceability, the maintenance that's required out there at the facility. So that fluctuates from month to month, depending on high water and low water. But there is a tremendous ability to monetize these RECs, and hopefully Blue Delta will be able to do it for us.
Dave, it's, 10% of their proceeds, so their actual, selling them at a higher rate actually benefits them. Is that right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
10% or more is more 10%. For them.
Okay, I still need a second to the motion by Alderman Lukosius.
I will second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Have a roll call. Clerk, call roll.
Alderman Putoff.
Aye.
Ferrari.
Aye.
Waldorf.
Aye.
Lukosius.
Aye.
Radke.
Aye.
Sapienza.
Aye.
Payton.
Aye.
Ballard.
Aye.
Motion approved.
Chief King, do you have anything? Chief Burnaby? Anyone on the committee? Okay, that is all, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Report City Attorney, ordinances, resolutions.
Yes, Your Honor, I have an ordinance authorizing the execution of a cable franchise agreement between the City of Peru and Comcast of Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, LLC. This is essentially a renewal of the franchise agreement that we entered into with Comcast back in 2015. We had this ordinance on the agenda at our last meeting, and at that time it was tabled at the request of the city engineer, and he and I got together and called Comcast and negotiated some additional favorable terms, essentially to make sure that Comcast is doing everything they need to do with respect to our city ordinances when they're working in our right-of-way, and making sure that all their paperwork is in and they're following all the rules, so we don't have any problems when we have our own right-of-way projects.
Okay, I need a motion and a second.
So moved.
Okay, is there any further discussion? And as Attorney Swigert just said, you and Eric have been over that with Comcast, some of the questions that we had. Okay, anybody else?
Your Honor, I just wanted to point out, we have probably more questions about cable TV than anything else over the past 20 years, including my mother every time I see her. But it's non-exclusive, so if there is another cable provider that would like to come into town to give some type of competition, that is available. And again, the city has no involvement in the cost of cable TV. We have no involvement in the programming, the choices, or the rates that are constantly rising, okay? So this is basically an agreement that allows the franchise to be in existence in the city of Peru. So those are noteworthy, so when people get upset about the rates, it's a private industry, and the city has no ability to do any of those variety of things.
Your Honor, I will be voting no for this. In talking with my constituency, nobody really has anything good to say about Comcast customer service. You know, whether they ask for a supervisor or just a regular phone technician, it doesn't seem to work out for very many people. That vote may or may not mean anything, but in good conscience, I will be voting no.
I forgot, besides cost and programming, customer service is another problem where they have many faults at.
Once again, it's lack of competition.
Exactly. Okay,
It has been the same for many, many years.
is there any further discussion?
At one time, the city did look into providing their own franchise, and we made different presentations. We went to different places in the Midwest that has their own franchise, and the cost of building your own franchise was astronomical at the time because there's a great deal, and the ability to change, again, that is a cost that we as residents couldn't incur in a city of 10,000 people.
I actually have a friend that works for the city of Tacoma Cable. They have their own cable. We think Comcast is expensive. You should know what they're paying, so.
Anybody else?
I fielded a call about a week or so ago regarding Comcast, and the lady was irate. And I'm afraid all I could do with the lady is simply agree with her. And I'll be voting yes, but very reluctantly.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, we'll have roll call, clerk call roll.
Alderman Putoff.
Aye.
Florrie.
Aye.
Waldorf. Lukosius. Radke. Sapienza. Payton. Ballard.
Motion approved.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is a resolution to include cash payments related to health insurance as IMRF earnings. This is in regards to the city's recent incentive for employees that are currently on the health plan to come off of the health plan, possibly onto their spouse's plan, or those employees that just choose not to be on the health care overall. So as such, the money that we pay to them would be considered earnings and subject to IMRF with withholdings. So this is the resolution ratifying that.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the resolution as written and read.
So moved, Your Honor.
Second, Your Honor.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Okay, we'll roll call, quick call roll.
Alderman Putoff.
Aye.
Florrie.
Aye.
Waldorf. Lukosius. Radke. Sapienza. Payton. Ballard.
Motion approved. Anything further from the attorney, clerk?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, unfinished business. Do we have any unfinished business? Do we have any new business? Do we have petitions, communication?
Just one, Your Honor, from Rita Stadzinski, the River Valley Chapter Leader of Compassionate Friends is requesting permission to hold their 5th annual Memory Walk for Compassionate Friends on Sunday, September the 30th at 10 a.m.
Do we have a motion to receive communication, place on file, and grant permission?
So moved, Your Honor.
Second, Your Honor.
Have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried. No further communications?
No, Your Honor.
Public comment. Do we have any public comment from anyone? Public comment? Anybody? I see a hand, I can't see a face. Yes.
Well, last time I was up here, I made a suggestion that the council hire a forensic auditor to go over the books, but I guess you decided not to, so I guess you're stuck with me. My last FOIA request that raised many questions was a credit card statements. I learned there was alleged official misconduct in which an official was allegedly forced to resign due to personal use spending. After my most recent FOIA request of Economic Director Bob Vickery's last several taxpayer-paid trips to conferences has raised many flags. A poorly drafted city contract like Bob Vickery's / Oval Whacker has led to misappropriation of public funds. Thankfully, we have an Illinois Constitution with articles of how tax dollars can be spent and laws protecting us taxpayers from corruption. In 2015, according to minutes of the Finance meeting, on May 13, 2015, Alderman Putoff reported Economic Development Director Bob Vickery attending an economic conference of retailers in Las Vegas. Alderman Putoff reported he would be staying at Corporate Counsel Schweigert's condo at no charge to the city, end quote. There was no council or committee approval for him to attend that conference on the city's behalf. Therefore, no public funds should have been reimbursed. Mr. Vickery attended that May conference but didn't submit expenses until July 2015. Mr. Vickery was reimbursed $2,215.07. I'll go way over my allotted time if I go over every one of Vickery's submitted receipts, contract, city policy for travel, and articles of the Constitution. So I recommend that this administration reviews those. Many receipts submitted over his last several trips are his personal credit card purchase receipts. But according to laws and the city's spending policy, detailed receipts with line item goods that were purchased need to be submitted in order for reimbursement. 2015 conference was from May 17th through the 20th. Bob was reimbursed for miscellaneous expenses and car rental as early as the 14th through the 21st, with Bob's spouse listed as an extra driver. There were many receipts for this trip that were not related to this conference and in violation of state laws and city policy, including 2 bottles of wine, Gorilla Glue, paper towels, Izod shirts, utility knife, face tissues, etc. City policy and state laws prohibit alcohol, entertainment, and personal use for purchases. In 2016, April of 2016, Alderman Putoff made a motion to approve expenses for Economic Director Bob Vickery to attend the ICSC conference in Las Vegas on May 22nd through the 25th. Motion passed by the council. This trip has many personal credit card receipts with no detailed line item purchase receipts provided. One of those card receipts for $89.49 show the card was used by Bob Vickery's spouse. One of the detailed receipts that was submitted says entertainment, 1 Fever House wine for $6. For this trip, Bob Vickery was reimbursed $1,345.50. According to policy and state laws of the Constitution, personal use and entertainment expenses are forbidden. 2017 Las Vegas conference was from May 21st to May 24th. Many receipts submitted by Mr. Vickery were personal credit card receipts only, with no detailed purchase receipts. One was for $86.28 at a German brewery and another for a $125 meal. According to Bob's contract, meals are reimbursable only when Bob is accompanied by a City of Peru economic prospect. Of course, if the council approves conference travel expenses, then meals are reimbursed for that individual only. This 2017 conference was not approved by City Council, as there are no agenda or minutes from regular or Finance Committee meetings approving this trip. And most of what was reimbursed is in violation of city policy and articles within the Constitution. Lastly, within this trip, please review hotel expenses, as there's over $1,105 of purchases, and most don't have any receipts at all. One of the charges is for $39 on a line item titled Pool Bar. According to city policy, alcohol is only reimbursable if the purpose is in promoting the interests of Peru and names of individuals being promoted are submitted. Mr. Vickery was reimbursed $2,055.69 for this unapproved trip. The taxpayers want to be reimbursed from any unapproved trips, especially all personal spending not related directly to the conference, and any spending during Vickery's extended trips, like purchases made several days after the actual conference. In conclusion, someone needs to explain to Bob that when you make purchases, personal items, including meal, need to be 100% separate from business purchases. For instance, Bob goes to Walmart, and instead of paying for one order of personal items, having one personal receipt, then paying for his, quote, business items with another receipt for reimbursement, Bob has a bad, sneaky habit of paying all together, providing only one receipt, then writes half personal on the receipt, thinking that's legal and right. That receipt I'm speaking of appeared to be all personal items, in no way related to that conference. And all that receipt told me was the city paid for one bottle of wine and he paid for the other. Many of his personal receipts were submitted and approved that way. There's over $6,000 just from these last 3 conferences that need investigated. And most of this needs reimbursed back to the city. If the city doesn't take appropriate and immediate investigation action, then I will start with our state's attorney, since she seems to be onto public corruption cases. And if I get nowhere with her, I have connections to the federal, at the federal level. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else for public comment? Anyone else? Bob?
I've seen this here. Bob Serponiak. We have what I think is a great idea, cooperating with the police departments. I would like to see it go a little bit farther, and maybe all the municipalities come back, so we only have one mayor, one, city clerk and all that stuff. We can save a lot of money there too. But my question is LaSalle, Spring Valley, Oglesby going to kick in $17,000 for this? $70,000?
It's a great question, Bob, and I know that there's been a lot of miscommunication. There's people out on social media reporting inaccurate information, so we tried to get the accurate information out tonight. The commitment tonight isn't we're spending $70,000. I thought Eric had made that clear.
We're not spending it.
No, we're not spending it. Potentially, there could be up to $70,000 spent, depending on where the project goes. 16 architectural firms in October or November started this public process of applying to be the architect to do a study on our police department, City of Peru. Well into that process, the very discussion that you brought up came up. If we're going to do this, shouldn't we open our arms up and extend an offer to the other area communities to say, if we're going to do this, and there's no commitment to build a new police station, even though we need one, and anybody can go down there and look at it and make your own determination. But we said, if we are going to do this and we are going to investigate this and spend any kind of dollars, should we reach out to the neighboring communities? It's historic. It's never happened before. People have asked why that hasn't done. Doesn't matter why it hasn't done. Finally, we're doing it. And with open arms, those communities, number one, said, we really appreciate you extending the offer. And yes, we want to talk about this. We want to go down that road. And one of the commitments that was made up front, it hasn't been voted on by anybody in the city council. It hasn't been voted on by any of the other councils. But the absolute commitment made is that every community that ultimately may participate, and we don't know if anyone's going to participate, but if you do participate on a per capita basis, you will share in the savings and you will share in any costs. So if we spend and again, we haven't spent a penny on this architectural, but when the committees meet, the representatives from all these towns agree to spend, if they do, $1,000 in architectural costs, that will be split on a per capita basis. If we save $250 million over the next 60 years, that's what I said, $250 million, that will come back to the communities equally on a per capita basis. With Illinois Valley Regional Dispatch, what we did as a member of the community, as the largest community, when we went to the table with Illinois Valley Regional Dispatch, we proposed we should do it on a per capita basis. But what we're willing to do and we think is important in a cooperative, everybody has an equal vote. So Oglesby, the smallest member of IVRD, has an equal vote to Peru, Mendota, LaSalle, and when you do that and you make it equal, people feel good about that and they feel they have an equal voice at the table. And the proof's in the pudding. IVRD is more effective. It's saving hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars year in and year out, and it's been a very good thing. So because of that, we really said, this is bold, but let's talk about doing that. It wasn't secretive. The very first time this became public, Bob, the very first time this became public was at 3 o'clock last Thursday afternoon. The employees for the 4 police departments, LaSalle, Peru, Oglesby, and Spring Valley, were asked to come to a meeting because we said we have something very big, is going to scare a lot of you. Okay, you're going to be nervous about what is going on, what are they up to, are we going to lose jobs, are we going to lose pensions? So we said, as the 4 police chiefs, the mayors, and each individual council that was briefed on this in an executive session, everybody said the most fundamental, important thing that we can do is bring our employees in before anything got leaked, before one damn thing, inaccurate information went out on social media. And I, like every other police chief, every single one of us did not want our employees to pick up a phone and read something on Facebook that was inaccurate, that was going to affect their salaries, that was going to affect their pensions, that was going to affect their livelihood. So we've been beat up all weekend by certain people saying we did things secretive. Frankly, I'm sick of it, but you know what? I'm going to rise above that, and I'm going to be professional, and I'm going to do my jobs with all of them and everybody else. And I hope that LaSalle, Peru, Oglesby, and Spring Valley can come together, do something, and save $250 million. But I'll tell you what, if we don't, at least we will have tried. So the answer to your original question is, yes, everybody's going to share it in on a per capita basis.
Before you spend that $70,000, you're going to get a commitment for the other.
Absolutely. We've already got the commitment. And we won't spend a penny of it, though. We won't spend $500 without the committee from those 4 towns saying, Eric, it's okay to go to the next level and spend that $500. And if somebody says, nope, I'm not in, well, then we stop the process.
Okay, well, then I missed that part of the discussion.
I'm glad you came
guys.
to the meeting and asked the question, Bob. I'm glad you came and asked.
I'm for it. I think it's great. 25 years ago, the JCs tried to get this done, and I think it was maybe it's 30 years ago. I don't remember.
Right. Thank you, sir.
Okay, any other public comment?
Okay, I have a question.
Yes.
If we're not, does this man know that we're not going to pay him for the work that he's doing? The architect guy.
He has not been commissioned.
You're not doing any work.
No, he's been selected, Sherry.
He's working with another firm to design.
16 architectural firms responded to something called a request for qualifications, RFQ, which is the legal requirement in the state of Illinois that you can't just go hire a professional like that and say, what would you charge us? You first have to go out and say, here's the grand scheme of the project, and correct me if I'm wrong, but this is my understanding, Eric, that you say there's, and 16 firms from all over Illinois and I think Midwest, right? There wasn't some...
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Came in and said, here's our qualifications. Eric and his peers narrowed it down to what they believe were the top 4, brought them in and interviewed them. Okay. He could share that because I wasn't part of that process because I wouldn't know the first thing about engineering, wouldn't know what I was asking and answering. And they narrowed it down. And Eric's recommendation to the council tonight is there's 16 firms out there, and 15 of them are not, they're not getting any potential work. So what happened tonight was we haven't spent a penny yet, not one penny.
Not yet, I get it.
Okay. 15 firms know they are not getting part of this project. They can go work on other projects and other requests for qualifications and know that's not part of their book or business. The selected architectural firm and all their partners will be paid on an hourly basis, but they don't have a blank check. They can't do anything without the direction of Eric Carls. And as Eric said at the beginning of this meeting in his presentation, and he won't give that direction unless the committees from the 4 cities say, yes, give that direction. What is it, Eric? It's approximately $2,000 to do, I'm making that figure up, a $2,000 piece of the puzzle. Here's what information we would be able to give your committee to help you make an informed decision. And if the 4 cities say, yes, proceed to do that, it'll be billed on a per capita basis. If cities say, no, we don't want to go down that road, our contract ends with those folks. It's all over. Or we go out and look at building just a Peru Police Department. But we elected and we said, if we go down that road and design a Peru Police Department and spend the money for architectural drawings and go out for bids and do all that, we will never have that opportunity. It will be too late to bring in the other cities. So we basically have tabled the Peru Police Department. That is gonna delay us. And if the LaSalle, Peru, Oglesby, Spring Valley thing comes together, that's wonderful. If it doesn't, then we're just delayed, and then we'll regroup and decide where we're gonna go. Okay? Thanks for the question.
I think from a city.
Add a little bit to that, to clarify the qualification-based selection. In going through that process, we don't negotiate with the professional firms any type of fee. It's illegal to do that. So we select them on merit base only. When I went through that process, like Chief said, we had 16 submittals that we went through, and we have copies of all those. Are welcome to anybody to look at. Of those 16 submittals, we narrowed it down to 4 and interviewed them. After that process, then, now we can negotiate the contract with a selected firm. In negotiating that contract, the one that's on tonight is what we refer to as a T&M contract not to exceed. So Matt and I sat down and we give our best guess at tasks that are needed to accomplish the pre-design and needs assessment. So we assign a number to those tasks, and then as the committee gives me direction on what to move forward with, we go back to the committee and tell them, these are the tasks that we need to do. And we'll approximate what that is, and then they're paid on an hourly basis. And then as a whole, that entire contract, as tonight it was approved, won't exceed $70,000. So it could be much less, so we just don't know at this time.
Anybody else, public comment? Anybody? Okay, closed session, we don't have a need for a closed session. Motion adjourned.
So moved, Your Honor.
Have a motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.